Welcome to Zorosama. Today, we're diving into the epic world of manhwas that have captured the hearts of millions of readers worldwide. Intense battles, heroes defying their destiny, and worlds where every choice can change the future. In this video, I'll introduce you to 5 absolute masterpieces. I'm the max-level newbie. Omniscient Reader, Level Up with the Gods, The World After the Fall, SSS-class Revival Hunter. Each of these stories shares the same thrilling vibe as solo leveling: overpowered growth, breathtaking fights, and unforgettable journeys. So get ready, because every one of these manhwas will blow your mind and keep you hooked. Sit back, relax, and let's get started. First one is I'm the max-level newbie. In a world where the virtual and the real intertwine, the story begins with a solitary player, forgotten by all, who devoted 10 years of his life to a game considered impossible to finish. While others gave up long ago, he persevered, floor after floor, challenge after challenge, until finally reaching the maximum level. What once was just a pastime suddenly becomes reality when the Tower of Trial emerges in the living world. The rules of the game now govern all of humanity, and everyone must fight to survive. Amid the chaos, the one who was once called a mere beginner holds an unmatched advantage. He knows every corner, every trap, every weakness of the monsters and guardians. His strength does not lie in brute power but in accumulated experience, strategy, and complete mastery of a universe no one else understands. While the strongest rely on their bodies or weapons, he advances with cold intelligence, turning despair into opportunity. The first battles reveal a cunning, calculating fighter, capable of reversing a hopeless situation with a single moment of foresight. He stands against enemies far larger than himself, always wearing a confident smile, for nothing can surprise him. He knows where to strike, when to dodge, how to manipulate the battlefield. Around him, some eventually recognize his genius and become allies, fascinated by his ability to turn apparent weakness into a deadly weapon. Others, jealous or fearful, rise against him, but all end up realizing they face an adversary who plays 10 moves ahead. Each floor of the tower becomes a stage where bloody battles, political intrigue, and betrayal intertwine. But at the center of it all, he marches forward without hesitation, driven by an unshakable ambition. Behind his apparent arrogance lies the certainty that he is the only one capable of reaching the summit. Where many see an unbreakable wall, he sees a puzzle already solved. Where others hesitate, he acts with absolute confidence. This is the story of a despised gamer turned ruthless strategist, of an ordinary man transformed into an unavoidable hero. The world sees him as nothing more than a beginner, but in truth, he is the only one who has already finished the game. The second one is Omniscient Reader. In a world about to collapse, a forgotten reader becomes the only one who knows what comes next. For years, he was nothing more than a silent observer, buried in the pages of a single web novel no one else cared about. He read every line, memorized every event, followed every character, until the very last chapter. And then, one day, fiction turns into reality. The story he alone has finished now unfolds before his eyes, transforming the world into a deadly stage where gods and monsters toy with human lives. Amid the chaos, where billions struggle to understand the rules, he alone holds the script. He knows when disasters will strike, who will rise, who will fall, and where betrayal hides. But knowledge is both a blessing and a curse. Each choice twists the path he thought he knew, and every ally he saves can become a rival tomorrow. To survive, he must step out of the shadows of the story he once adored, and rewrite it with his own hands. He is neither the chosen hero nor the strongest warrior. His weapon is foresight, his armor is determination, and his battlefield is the very narrative itself. He stands beside those destined to shine, guiding them, deceiving them, protecting them, using them all to make sure humanity endures. Every chapter is a test, every fight a gamble, and every revelation a reminder. The world is no longer written by an author, but by him. This is the tale of the last reader in a world ruled by constellations, where survival is bought with blood, and destiny is a book waiting to be rewritten. He was once only a reader, but now, he is the omniscient witness of mankind's final story. The next one is Level Up with the Gods. When the world was brought to its knees, the war between mortals and divine beings ended in despair. Humanity's champions fought bravely, But even the strongest could not stand against the endless onslaught of gods and their chosen. Among the fallen was a warrior who gave everything, only to be betrayed by fate itself. Yet death was not his end, it was his beginning. Cast back to the moment before the war began, he awakens with memories of every battle, every mistake, every sacrifice. Time has given him a second chance, but not as a gift, rather as a burden he must carry alone. With knowledge of what is to come, he sharpens his will like a blade. He trains in silence, prepares in the shadows, and forges alliances not yet broken by betrayal. Every day is a step toward vengeance, every victory a spark of hope that history can be rewritten. But to change destiny, he must challenge the heavens themselves. The gods who once toyed with humanity now stand as obstacles on his path. Each one stronger than the last, each battle pushing him beyond the limits of mortality. To survive, he must grow, he must evolve, and he must level up until he is no longer prey, but a force that gods themselves will fear. This is not the story of a hero chosen by fate. It is the story of a man who defies fate, who climbs from the ashes of defeat to seize the power that was denied him. His struggle is endless, his resolve unshaken, his destiny his own. And when the final war comes again, the gods will learn what it means to face a mortal who has already conquered despair. He is the warrior who levels with the gods, and this time, he will not fall. SSS Class Revival Hunter. In a world ruled by towers where hunters climb floors to gain power, there was one man who had nothing, no strength, no talent, no rank, condemned to watch others rise while he remained trapped at the bottom, forced to look up at those blessed by fate. His only gift was obsession, the obsession to watch, to study, to learn every secret of the hunters who stood above him. Day after day he lived in the shadows, unnoticed, insignificant, mocked as someone who could never reach the top. But fate is cruel and fate is strange, because when the strongest fell, he fell too, and in death he discovered his true gift, the power to return. Not once, not twice, but endlessly, each death becoming a reset, each failure becoming knowledge, each loss becoming a stepping stone toward greatness. With every revival he rewrote his destiny, stripping away weakness, mastering the skills of those he once admired, turning their brilliance into his own arsenal. What began as despair became his weapon, what began as humiliation became his drive, and in the endless cycle of death and rebirth he climbed from the lowest hunter to the pinnacle of existence. But power alone was not what he gained, for with every return he uncovered the truth hidden behind the tower, the illusions, the schemes of gods and demons who played with human lives as if they were pieces on a board. The man who once had nothing now stood as a player who could never be removed from the game, a shadow who could not be erased, a hunter who always came back no matter how many times the world tried to break him. This is not simply the story of a hunter. This is the story of the immortal witness, the cursed survivor, the one who turns death into his greatest weapon. In a world where lives are fragile and endings are absolute, he is the one who laughs in the face of death itself, the SSS Class Revival Hunter. And the last one is the world after the fall. When the sky cracked open and the towers appeared, humanity was given a choice: fight or perish. Each tower was a labyrinth of despair, filled with nightmares that grew stronger with every floor. To step inside was to risk everything, and those who entered were called wanderers. They fought not for glory, but for survival, climbing higher, floor after floor, in a desperate attempt to protect the crumbling world outside. Most fell. Some endured. But one chose a path no one else dared to take. Instead of joining the struggle for endless ascension, he made a decision that defied every rule of the towers. He chose to remain behind when the others moved on. Alone in the void of the forgotten world, he faced horrors no one else could even imagine. Time lost its meaning. Days became centuries. Solitude became his only companion. Yet his will did not break. Through unrelenting trials, he grew stronger, not just in body but in spirit. Where others relied on numbers, he relied on resolve. Where others sought escape, he embraced the endless battle. In the silence of a world abandoned by gods and heroes, he became something more than human. And then, when the towers collapsed and the old cycle of despair ended, he returned not as a broken survivor, but as a being forged by eternity. In the world after the fall, where humanity struggles to rebuild and face the unknown, he walks as both savior and shadow, carrying the weight of all he endured. This is not just the story of a survivor. It is the story of the last wanderer, the man who chose the impossible path, the warrior who became eternal. In a world rebuilt from ruins, he is the reminder that even in endless darkness, one will strong enough can defy the end itself. He is the one who stood after the fall. And that wraps up our journey through these 5 incredible manhwas that stand alongside Solo Leveling as true legends. Each one takes us into a different world, but they all share the same epic energy that makes us want more and more. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to Zorosama, and share your favorite manhwa in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, chill, relax, and keep enjoying these amazing stories. See you soon.